Nobody likes to make mistakes. They cost time, they cost money, and they can create a ton of aggravation. Well, in today's show, we're going to talk about the 5 big money mistakes people make in retirement planning. And instead of having these mistakes be costly to you, we're also going to talk about strategies to help you avoid them.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searins, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Welcome to another episode of The Retirement Show, all about your life, your money, and your retirement. I'm your host, Scott Searins. My goal is to help you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement. I wanted to share a quick story with you. Right now, my fiance, Christy, and we are actually replacing the siding on our house. And as they tore the siding off of one of the sides, they found a bunch of rotten wood underneath the siding. And why did they find rotten wood? Well, it was because the people who had installed the original siding had made mistakes. They installed it improperly. They did not do the flashing properly. And because they made mistakes, water got through, and then we had to replace a bunch of wood, which led to extra labor cost and extra material cost. Our simple project became more complex and more costly. And this can happen in your retirement as well. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 5 big money mistakes in retirement planning. Things that you want to take care of in advance. Just like our house, if the first contractor had installed the flashing properly, had installed the siding properly, when we went to redo the siding, we wouldn't have had any of these issues. It would have just been take down, put back up, what we were expecting when we were actually thinking about the project, thinking about how much it would cost, thinking about what it would look like when everything was done. However, since they made these mistakes on the initial project, made these mistakes while they were putting things together, because of these mistakes, things got more costly. The project had to change. It became more complex. And that's the same things that can happen in retirement planning. You can either think about it and properly do it in advance, or there's big money mistakes that you can make and fall into. And so in this episode, we've distilled it down to what we believe are the 5 big money mistakes to watch out for. Things that we see most commonly that could potentially cost you thousands of dollars in your retirement. Could potentially just lead to you being unhappy in your retirement or not even feeling satisfied in your retirement. So avoiding these crucial missteps can have a big impact on the success of your retirement plan. So whether you're 1 year away from retirement, 5 years away, 10 years away, hopefully understanding these mistakes that we've seen others make can help you and your retirement plan and help you confidently go into your retirement. So here we go. Let's start with number 1. Number 1, ignoring the future tax implications of your retirement savings. Now, according to self.inc, and I will link this site to our show notes. So if you want to go to the show notes, lifemoneyshow.com, click on the show notes there. You can see this source here. The average American will pay $523,910. It's $523,910 in taxes throughout their lifetime. Now, I know that's saying throughout their lifetime, but I will share with you doing tax projections for our clients. And it's just a projection, it's a forecast, but we've seen that people could pay this much in taxes just in their retirement. Think about that, paying $500-some thousand in taxes just in your retirement based on your retirement savings, based on where you saved to for your retirement. The other thing that people underestimate or ignore is what I will call if you're a couple listening to this, is the widow's tax. Leaving your 401k, leaving your IRA to your spouse is potentially leaving more money to the IRS. You see, because when one person passes away, now you're going to get taxed as a single versus a couple. And if a single's making $80,000 a year and a couple's making $80,000 a year, they're going to be in 2 totally different tax brackets. The single at a same income as a couple will be in a higher tax bracket. So that's why I call it the widow's tax, because it basically a widow, one spouse passes away, the remaining spouse is going to jump up a tax bracket. And think about where you've probably been conditioned to save most of your money for retirement. Most people are probably telling you, save your money in your 401k, save it into your 401k, save it into your 401k. Well, none of that money has been taxed yet. Every dollar that you're going to take out of your traditional 401k will all be taxable income. And this is how your taxes can go up in retirement. This is how you could potentially be paying more in taxes in your retirement than where you're at today, because none of that 401k or IRA or 403b or 457 money has been taxed yet. And then come your 70s, now it's 73 for some people it's age 75. I'm guessing they might change it again in the future. But when it comes to your 70s, you're going to be forced to take money out of those accounts, and it's going to start at an amount at whenever your age is in your 70s there, and then the percentage of what you have to take out goes up over time. It's going to be more in your 80s, the percentage is higher in your 90s, and this is how people potentially end up in a higher tax bracket in their retirement than where they're at today. Or, as I had mentioned, the widow's tax. So you leave your spouse with a 401k or IRA, money that hasn't been taxed yet. Now they're a single versus a couple. They're potentially getting taxed at a higher rate, and they need to take that money out. They're taking that money out to live the lifestyle that they want to live, plus they're getting taxed at a higher rate. So big mistake number one, ignoring the future tax implications of your retirement savings. Instead of ignoring those tax implications, I would recommend putting strategies in place. Start strategizing about your future and about your future taxes. For example, if you're still working, are you putting your money into the right buckets? Are you putting your money into the right tax buckets? If you're putting all of your money into your traditional 401k, you might want to reassess where you're putting your money into. Maybe you should be putting your money in the taxable bucket, like a brokerage account, individual account, joint account. Maybe based on your income and based on your situation, you should be putting all your money into your 401k. Or maybe you should be putting your money into the tax-free bucket, like a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. Or maybe based on your health plan at work, you have ability to put money into an HSA or health savings account. So strategy number one is to analyze and assess your situation and make sure that you're putting your money into or saving your money into the right tax buckets. Strategy number two when it comes to taxes, utilize efficient investments in the right buckets. What this means is, like, for instance, in your brokerage account or individual account, be a joint account, could be a trust account. Are you using tax efficient investments in that bucket? Because each and every year you're going to get taxed on interest, dividends, and gains. So if you're using investments that are constantly pushing off gains to you, well, those gains are going to get taxed at your ordinary income rate. Versus using efficient investments, having a more long-term approach where either the gains aren't getting pushed off to you, or now they become long-term gains which are taxed at a more favorable rate. Another thing that a lot of people do, and we call this asset allocation, is utilizing more growth equity type funds in the brokerage accounts in the taxable bucket, and then funds that would produce interest, putting those in the IRA, the tax deferred or tax free bucket, because that way that interest is not getting taxed each and every year. So strategy one, putting the money into the right bucket. Strategy two, make sure that you're using tax efficient investments in the right buckets. Strategy number three, should you be considering Roth conversions? The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017 lowered tax rates across the board, but that is scheduled to expire at the end of 2025. Are you taking advantage of it? Are you taking advantage of taxes being on sale? Now, this doesn't mean to go out and just convert all of your tax-deferred money over to tax-free money. You will pay taxes when you do the Roth conversion. You pay tax today at the known rates. But maybe you can be more strategic. Maybe you want to convert up to a certain tax bracket, up to a certain amount, getting that money out of that tax-deferred bucket, that money that's going to cost you in taxes later on in life, maybe over to the tax-free bucket. How do you know if that's right for you? That's really where you want to sit down with your tax preparer as well as your financial professional to see if Roth conversions are right for you and what kind of strategy you should be doing in regards to that. So start with the basics. Still working? Are you putting your money into the right bucket? Are you using tax-efficient investments? Should you be doing Roth conversions each and every year? Have you first thought about these? Are you implementing these strategies instead of ignoring the future tax implications of your retirement savings? After you've gotten through the basics, then maybe you want to get a little bit more strategic. If you're somebody who's contributing to charities, should you be utilizing a qualified charitable distributions? Should you be utilizing a donor-advised fund? If you've got a lot of money in a brokerage account, so in that taxable bucket, maybe it's something that you should consider is direct indexing. So a lot of different, more strategic approaches that you can take as well to help you reduce your current and future tax implications. Here's an analogy I like to utilize when it comes to the importance of looking at your taxes in your long-term picture. Imagine that you're going to go out and buy a new car, or it could just be a used car, but you're going to go out and buy a car. When you're sitting down with the car dealership and you're going over kind of the final prices, I'm not sure about you, but I always ask them, what is the bottom line? What's the bottom line with all the fees, taxes, everything included, right? But with the taxes included, what is that bottom line? So here's my question to you. When is the last time your financial professional, when is the last time your financial planner, your financial advisor, when's the last time that they've reviewed your tax return? Because how could they be telling you how to invest your money, where to put your money, if they're not looking at your tax return to tell you what the bottom line impact is of the decisions that you're making? And if you're managing your own funds, when's the last time that you've looked at your tax return and married it up, merged it together with your overall financial plan? So hopefully that helps you think about things a little bit different, the impact of taxes on your overall future. So big mistake number one, ignoring the future tax implications. Instead of ignoring it, hopefully you can take some of those strategies and utilize them for your future. Okay, big mistake number two when it comes to retirement planning, starting Social Security too early. Boy, I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And when I say too early, sometimes full retirement age for some people can be too early. I just see all too often that people will make emotional decisions when it comes to Social Security. Just had a conversation last night. The folks got laid off. They're in their mid-60s. But guess what? They went ahead and took Social Security because they just weren't thinking and they didn't have money coming in. And so it was this emotional crunch that, oh my gosh, we don't have our job income anymore and we just probably should go ahead and start Social Security. When they had over $1 million saved up that they could have gone to, utilize, let their Social Security grow. There's tax strategies that they're missing out on because they started their Social Security. There's so many things that they could have done, but it was an emotional decision to go ahead and start their Social Security because they didn't have a plan in place. They didn't understand how much they could take from their retirement savings. And so instead of putting a plan in place, they made an emotional decision to take Social Security. Social Security is going to make up a good chunk of your overall retirement income. And remember, when you decide to take it, it's a permanent decision. There are some, but I'll say very few go-backs, meaning like, oh, I didn't want to take it then, I would rather take it at a different time, right? It's few and far between, and if you've been taking it for a year, really the go-backs go away. So unless you decide that you want to pay all that Social Security back. So just look at it this way. When you take your Social Security, you're basically making a permanent decision. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are making this an emotional decision versus a planned decision. And if you're taking it, I mentioned earlier, I mean, sometimes taking it at full retirement age is too early for people, but if you're taking it earlier than your full retirement age, let's just say age 62, that's going to be a 30% reduction from what you would have gotten at your full retirement age. And so it's going to be less in that when you decide to take early, you're making a permanent decision to take less. Now, maybe it does make sense for your situation. Maybe it makes sense if you have one spouse that's going to wait and then maybe one spouse takes it early. But I will say before you make an emotional decision, right? This can be a big mistake for some people. And then I see they wish they would have waited. They wish they would have had more. They get to retirement and they realize that the retirement savings bucket isn't what they thought it was, and how much they're underestimated or overestimated actually what they could take out. Then they can take out as much from their retirement savings, and they don't have as much retirement income now as they were actually hoping. And so instead of making an emotional decision, make it a planned decision. And here's some ingredients that you want to consider. You want to take and understand what you think your longevity is going to be. You want to figure in cost of living adjustments, the COLAs, the inflation that gets added to Social Security each and every year. If you're a couple listening to this, have you thought about your survivor benefits? One spouse passes away, you only keep the higher of the two Social Security payments. And then that other key ingredient that I mentioned is, have you factored in your retirement savings? Do you understand how much you can take from your retirement savings and make it last? Then factor that into add in your Social Security, add in any other pension income, etc. And I find that if you take it too early and you're based on your lifestyle, if the income gap's too big, you could put yourself in a really stressful position. So for some people, it makes sense to wait to take their Social Security because of what they've got what they need from a lifestyle standpoint and what they've saved up. Another, I'll say, more strategic approach of what we've helped people with is what I call bridging the gap, meaning we'll take some more from the retirement savings up front just to help them and allow them to grow their Social Security more before they start it. And that sometimes can lead to more retirement income throughout your future. And so there's a lot of different approaches when it comes to Social Security. I realize that there are a ton of decisions around Social Security. It can feel sometimes very overwhelming. It can feel confusing. And if you are not yet collecting it and wondering when to start collecting it, we do have a free guide that discusses all of the different decisions around Social Security. You can get it at lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. Again, it's lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. It's going to provide you actionable advice about the timing of claiming your benefits. It discusses ways to help supplement your Social Security income. What it means to you is it means getting the most from your Social Security benefits. It means helping to optimize your benefit to get you hundreds or thousands of dollars more in retirement income. Again, you can get it at lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. That's lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. Now, let's move on. Big mistake number 3. Big mistake number 3 is not having a clear purpose in retirement. You've heard me talk about this before, and you would have think, wait a second, Scott's talking about money mistakes, but he's talking about this here. How does this relate to my finances? You're right. I guess it's not a money mistake, but it is a big mistake that I see people make, is going into retirement without a purpose, not understanding what they want to do on the day-to-day. Have you thought about your retirement? Have you thought about which activities that you want to do, what hobbies that you want to do, maybe you want to travel, maybe you want to volunteer? I find that if you don't have a purpose when you go into retirement, you're going to have a bunch of money, but you're going to feel really unfulfilled. But if you have a purpose, you now have clear direction on what you're going to be utilizing your retirement savings for. So I hope that you'll really give that one some thought. And maybe for you, maybe enjoy working. Maybe that's what you really enjoy, and that's okay. And so maybe you're going to decide that you want to stay working because that's what you enjoy to do. Your friends are there. The people that you hang out with are there. And so you want to enjoy working. Maybe you want to just go then from full-time work to part-time work. But it's still important, put together the plan, because I find for people, work sometimes becomes more enjoyable when you know work is optional. So if your plan says work's optional, now you're going to go to your job every day and enjoy it even that much more because you know that you don't have to do it, you don't have to be there, you don't have to go there, you're just doing it because you love to do so. So think about your retirement, put a clear purpose to it. What do you want to do in your retirement? How much do you want to spend on travel? How much do you want to, spend on the activities? Maybe you want to take your family for a fully paid vacation every year. Maybe you want to snowbird in a warmer state. Maybe you want to fill in the blank. Everybody is unique. Everybody's different. I hope that you'll put a purpose to your retirement, so that way you're going to enjoy it versus feeling unfulfilled. Okay, big mistake number 4 when it comes to retirement planning is ignoring healthcare expenses. This is just like the contractors that ignored the flashing, that ignored installing or siding properly the first time. Guess what? They made these mistakes up front, and now it's becoming more costly for us as we have to fix those mistakes in the future. Ignoring your healthcare expenses up front can become very costly in your future, meaning that you're going to maybe have to reduce your retirement lifestyle because healthcare has to get paid for. There's no way around that. And so I find that if people aren't factoring this into their overall retirement plan, it's got to come from somewhere, and the only place it's going to come from is your other activities, which could be your lifestyle, could come from your travel, or any of the other fun things that you wanted to do. So, what to do? As you're putting together your retirement plan, make sure you factor in Medicare. You're going to have some costs for base Medicare. If you want to go back, I think it was like 3 or 4 shows ago, but again, just go to lifemoneyshow.com. We talked about Medicare. We talked about the costs that most people miss. This is a big one. People forget about Medicare. They forget about it because it just sometimes comes right out of your Social Security check. The base Medicare payments. Then, let's say you decide to have a supplemental plan. So maybe a Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage. And then what about dental, vision, hearing? And then the big cost of the future. What if you need long-term care support? What if you need to have somebody come in and help you with home health care? If you need an assisted living facility or a nursing facility. Folks, all of those costs can really add up. Big mistake would be not thinking about them in advance, not planning for them in advance, not having a discussion about them in advance, because it has to come from somewhere. And so I want to see enjoy your retirement versus having to cut your lifestyle, having to cut your travel, having to cut the fun activities that you plan to do. Instead, I want to see you have all of this planned out, and then maybe you don't need as much as you thought you needed for healthcare, and it's kind of giving you bonus money to do all of those other things that you want to do. But thinking about it in advance, planning it for in advance versus ignoring it can really help you enjoy your retirement. And big mistake number 5, the last one here today, being too conservative. Guessing you didn't think you were going to hear that one, right? You're like, wait a second, I'm going into retirement. I need to make sure that I'm more conservative. Yes and no. As I said, being too conservative. And if you think about it, right, what does conservative even mean? What does moderate mean? What does aggressive mean? All of these are very relative terms, I guess to say. And a lot of people think that when they go into retirement that they're supposed to be more conservative. And so they pick a portfolio that's titled conservative. But as I had mentioned, these are very relative terms. You know, I was actually meeting with one of our clients, and she said, well, I'm pretty conservative. And I said, okay, well, let's just kind of look at it this way. How much do you feel should be on the growth side of your portfolio? How much should be on the safer side of your portfolio? Now, for a lot of people, conservative could mean, gosh, the majority would be on the safer side. Well, after I asked this question, guess what? She's like, I think at least 65% on the growth side. And we still put together a strategy and everything. This was just for me to get to understand what the word conservative meant to this client. And that's why we should get away from those just very generic phrases, because for her, it still meant a majority of her assets on the growth side of her portfolio. For some other people, it could mean the majority of their assets on the safer side of their portfolio. So it's a very generic term. I kind of would suggest actually getting away from utilizing these generic terms. I'll give you another story here. Prospective person came in. They said, hey, since we were getting closer to their retirement, they called their 401k company and just asked them to make him conservative. And so what do? They put 60% of their funds into bond funds. When I asked them why, again, he said, well, just because we're getting closer to retirement. I said, how'd you decide on 60%? They didn't know. I said, do you know if your money will still support you into your 90s? Did they talk about that? They were unsure. All they made was an emotional decision because they thought they were getting closer to retirement, but they actually didn't have a plan in place. Folks, instead of thinking I'm conservative, I'm moderate, I'm aggressive, what you need to be thinking about is longevity. How long do you need your money to last? Healthcare cost. How much are you going to have to pay for healthcare? How much do you need to factor in for inflation, the cost of goods and services going up? Do you want to leave a legacy? How much money are you going to need for travel, and for how long? What's just your basic lifestyle cost? And to keep up with all of that, you are going to need money growing. You're going to need money on the growth side to outpace inflation. And so instead of using these relative terms, what I would recommend is being more strategic. You've heard us talk about income planning. This is why you'd want to put an income plan in place. How much money do you see yourself needing to withdraw over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? And being more strategic, taking and putting and carving off some of those withdrawals, putting it on the safer side of your portfolio, but then having the growth side of your portfolio as well. So that way you do have money growing for your future. You do have money keeping up with inflation. You do have money keeping up with healthcare cost. So, moral of that, big mistake number 5, stay away from the generic terms of conservative, moderate, aggressive, because everyone's going to think something different when it comes to those terms, as I shared in that story there. And instead, think about your investments more strategically, and do understand your retirement might last 20 years. Your retirement might last 30 years. And if it's going to last that long, you're going to need money growing to help your money last as long as you do. So, stay away from the generic terms, be more strategic, put together an income plan, and match your investment plan up with your income plan as well. That can really help you avoid back to our project, right? Make the big mistake up front, get too conservative up front. Well, what's the result? The result could be that you have to cut your lifestyle. The result could be you might not have enough money for travel. The result could be that you don't have enough money keeping up with inflation. Think about in advance. Don't make the big mistakes. Have your money growing for you, but in a strategic approach that marries up with your income plan. All right, there you go. 5 big money mistakes in retirement planning. I hope this helps you think about your plan, your situation. As I had mentioned, one of the ones that we talked about quite a bit there was Social Security. Now, if you're not yet collecting Social Security, as I had mentioned, we have a free guide. It discusses the different decisions around Social Security. It's going to provide you actionable advice about the timing of claiming your benefits, which could mean getting more from your benefits. What it could mean is helping you to optimize your benefit to get you hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars of more income over your retirement and over your lifetime. If you'd like to get a copy of the free guide, go to lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. Again, that's lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If so, subscribe on your favorite podcast player, as we'll be out next week with another show helping you with your retirement planning, building wealth, and reducing your long-term taxes. Look forward to our next conversation, to helping you enjoy life today and being financially confident about your retirement.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Sierens Financial Management, Inc. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Sierens Financial Management, Inc. are not subject to investment advisor requirements. AEWM and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including, but not limited to, a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc.